parents to warn them that they were partying too loudly to hear her. She leaned over the rail to ask Gorgonzola to please not eat her parents yet, but she leaned over too far, lost her balance, and fell into the water. For a moment, she feared that she had become Gorgonzola's next meal, but she was so small that Gorgonzola didn't even notice her. The little girl cried out for help, but her voice could not be heard over the clink of champagne glasses and the laughter of the guests about the yacht. She just bobbed helplessly in the water and watched as her parents' super yacht, pursued by Gorgonzola, vanished into the distance. The little girl was wondering what to do next when an iceberg floated by. She climbed onto it and was astonished to find a tiny kitten sitting on the top. She picked up the kitten and hugged it. She never felt such soft, silky fur. "I'm going to call you Silky," she said. "Hey, that's like the name of your cat," says Terry. "That's because it is my cat," says Jill. "That's how Silky and I met. This is my story, remember?" "Oh, yeah," says Terry. "I got so caught up I forgot." "But why was Silky floating on an iceberg in the middle of the ocean?" I say. "Unfortunately, thousands of unwanted kittens are abandoned in icebergs every year," says Jill, tears in her eyes. "And not just kittens, it happens to a lot of other animals, too. Just listen to the rest of my story and you'll see." As Silky and I floated on the iceberg, we rescued 2 dogs, Woof, a goat, and Meh, 3 horses, 4 goldfish, 1 cow, 6 rabbits, 2 guinea pigs, 1 caramel, and a donkey. But with all those animals on board, the iceberg is getting very crowded and very warm. And the warmer it got, the more the iceberg melted. It slowly got smaller and smaller and smaller, until finally it was no bigger than an ice block. "What happened then?" says Terry. "Did you all drown?" "No, we didn't drown," says Jill. "We saw a ship." "Thank goodness," says Terry. "Yeah, that was what we thought at first," says Jill. "But it turned out to be a pirate ship, and that's how all the animals came to be captured by the terrifying, horrible, and hideous pirate, Captain Woodhead." Chapter 8. Why we hate pirates so much. Now, in case you're wondering why we hate pirates so much, it's because, as both Jill and I have already mentioned, we were all captured by a pirate, and not just any pirate. We were captured by the worst pirate of them all, Captain Woodenhead. Do you remember the wooden head we found in the shark? If you don't, go back to page 65 and have a look. This way to page 65. If you do remember the wooden head, then you'll already know that a horrible-looking pirate, Captain Woodhead, was, and you can go straight to the start of the next paragraph and read the rest of our story. Then you'll understand why we hate pirates so much. This way to the next paragraph. As Jill has already mentioned, Captain Woodenhead was one of the most terrifying, horrible, and hideous wooden-headed pirates ever to sail the 7 seas. Sure, he rescued us all, but only to turn us into his pirate slaves, even the animals. As for me and Terry and Jill, Captain Woodenhead forced us to peel an enormous pile of potatoes. I hate pirates. Be quiet, Captain Woodenhead will tell you. Risk our lives repairing their rigging. I hate pirates. Be quiet, Captain Woodenhead will hear you. Dig hundreds of really deep holes for all his chests of stolen treasures. I hate pirates. Be quiet, Captain Woodenhead will hear you. And, worst of all, he made us clean and polish the poop deck. Oh, gross. There's poop on the poop deck. Why do you think it's called a poop deck? Duh. One day we were cleaning the poop deck when Terry said, I hate pirates, they're disgusting. How many times do I have to tell you? I said, keep your voice down, Captain Woodenhead might hear you. He won't hear me, says Terry. He's only got stupid wooden ears. He's a stupid wooden-headed, wooden-eared poopy pants. Hey, I heard that, bellowed Captain Woodenhead, who was hiding behind a barrel. I've had enough of you mutinous mutterings. You and your mutinous mutterings. It's the plank for you lot. And your stinking animals. No, not the animals, says Jill. They didn't do anything. Yes, they did, said Captain Woodenhead. They're stinking up my sheep. Sorry. Yes, they did, said Captain Woodenhead. They're stinking up my ship just like you and your nappy-wearing crybaby friends. Get walking. He pulled out his cutlass and began using it to prod us toward the plank. Hey, cut it out, I said, batting his cutlass away with the handle of my mop. That thing hurts. So it's a fight you want, is it? Said Captain Woodenhead. Well, I'll give you a fight. In guard! I barely had time to get my mop into position before he came rushing at me, waving his cutlass. He swiped. I ducked. I swiped. He ducked. He swiped. I ducked. I swiped. He ducked. He swiped. I ducked. I swiped. He ducked, but a little too late. Boing. His wooden head went flying off his neck over the side of the ship, and splashed into the water below. It bobbed around the surface for a moment before one of the sharks that were always hanging around the boat leapt out of the water and swallowed it in one gulp. Uh-oh, says Terry. I don't think Captain Woodenhead's head is going to like that. Or his body either, says Jill. Look out! Captain Woodenhead's headless body was staggering angrily around the deck, wildly swiping the heads off any crew members unfortunate enough to get in his way. We had to get out of there, and fast, but the only safe place was the plank. We ran out onto it, me, Terry, Jill, and all the animals. We huddled in a big trembling bunch, hoping we'd be safe, and we were, but not for long. Soon Captain Woodenhead's body came stumbling out after us. We looked at the man-eating sharks below. We looked at the angry headless pirate with an enormous sword coming towards us. We looked at each other. Jump, I said. Jump, said the others. We jumped. The sharks formed a hungry circle around us. Yikes, said Terry. We're going to be eaten alive. No, we're not, says Jill. I'll have to talk to them. And she did. And not only did she convince them not to eat us, but she also got them to help us escape in our pedal boat, which was tied to the back of the pirate ship. The sharks quickly chewed through the thick ropes and then pulled us through the water faster than any pedal boat has ever traveled before. But as fast as we were traveling, we couldn't shake Captain Woodenhead. He was speeding up after us in a ship, now wearing a lampshade in place of his head. And just when you might have thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. A huge storm blew up and it began to rain, and rain, and rain. There was booming thunder, kaboom. Bolts of lightning, hailstones as big as baseballs, and enormous waves. Our little pedal boat was tossed around like a toy. Tossed about like a toy on the rough seas, and before we knew it, we were surfing down the face of the biggest wave any of us has ever seen. The trouble was, so was the pirate ship. It was surfing down the wave right behind us. That's when we saw land up ahead. Well, when I say land, I mean a wall of steep, rocky cliffs. Our little pedal boat crashed onto the rocks, but amazingly, we all managed to make it safely to shore. The pirate ship, however, wasn't so lucky. It was smashed to pieces, and we never saw Captain Woodenhead or any of his crew ever again. Over the next few days, we collected pieces of Captain Woodenhead's broken-up pirate ship and used them to build the first level of our treehouse. We also decided to keep the sharks, because even though they're scary, they are also, as I mentioned earlier, really cool. Meanwhile, Jill found an abandoned cottage on the other side of the forest and decided it would make a perfect home for her and all her animals. Anyway, that's the story of how we all met and how we came to be living here and why we hate pirates so much. Guys, says Jill, I hate to tell you this, but the reason you can feel wind and rain, see lightning, and hear thunder is not because Annie is such a good storyteller, but because there really is wind and rain and lightning and thunder. There's a very big storm heading our way. Uh-oh, Jill was right. Looks like we're in for a rough night. We better stop doing the books for a while and make sure the treehouse is okay. Stay dry and see you when the storm's over. Chapter 9. Flotsam, Jetsam, and Castaways. The next morning. Oh, there you are. Hello, what a night. That was some storm, hey? Hope you didn't get too wet. We got a lot wet, and there's quite a bit of damage to the treehouse, which is why we've come down to the beach this morning to scavenge a few bits and pieces to help us fix it up again. And there are a lot of bites and pieces down here because the ship was wrecked during the night. It's quite a coincidence, actually, considering that I has just been telling you the story of how we and Captain Woodenhead and his crew were shipwrecked here. But I guess it's not so surprising because it is a very dangerous coastline, and that was a very rough storm. Everything we need is here. There are planks of wood, torn pieces of sail, barrels, wooden chests, heaps of rope, piles of potatoes, and even a cannon. Cool, says Terry. I've always wanted a cannon. Why, says Jill. Because they're really useful. Really useful for what? I don't know, lots of stuff, says Terry. Say if you need to deliver something in a hurry, like, say, a book to a publisher, you could put it in the cannon and fire it across. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that, says Jill. Terry and I collected armful of wood and rope and loaded them to Jill's flying cat sleigh. Hey, you guys, called Jill from farther up the beach. Come here, quick. Terry and I run to join her. She's standing in front of a body lying face down on the sand. He must be one of the sailors from the ship, she says. Look, here's another one, says Terry. And here's another one, I say, rushing down to the water to pull a waterlogged body onto the sand. Then we found another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and yet another, until we found 10 in all. Do you think they're dead? Says Terry, poking one with a stick. Ouch, says the body. No, I don't think so, I say. At least not that one. The body rolls over, sits up, and blinks. We all gasp, and not because we're surprised he's alive, but because of his appearance. He's horrible. Although the ship was only wrecked last night, this sailor looks like he'd been in the water for months. He's got mold all over his face, and there are barnacles attached to his chin, and he doesn't smell too good either. He stinks of a weird combination of rotten fish and moldy old cheese. Who are you? He says, staring at us strangely. I'm Andy, I say, and this is Terry, and that's Jill. Who are you? I'm the captain of the ship that was wrecked in the storm last night. Don't worry, we'll look after you, says Jill. I get my flying cats to airlift and you and your crew back to the treehouse. I'm sorry, says the captain. I must be delirious. I thought you said flying cats. I did, says Jill. This is Silky and her 12 flying cat friends. Silky, says the captain. I once knew a cat called Silky, but she was just a kitten. She couldn't fly, of course. Made a great slave, though. Slave? Says Jill, sounding shocked. Did I say slave? Says the captain. I meant sailor, like I said. I must be delirious. I don't want to be rude, says Terry, but what happened to your head? It's a long story, says the captain, and not a particularly pretty one. Oh, good, says Terry. I love long stories, especially not particularly pretty ones. Well, all right, says the captain. I'll tell you if you want, but don't say you weren't warned. If you like this channel, please subscribe Reading Club. Thanks.